there's an issue, and you have to educate our community. And this is the education is one part that I really.
Meaning that there are no signs or symptoms. So you may be with someone, I need to be tested. I need to learn how to have conversations with my partners on have they ever been tested.
Prevention education work is taught in school, in public schools. Are they teaching this?
Bad misconception that if we talk to kids about sex, that they're going to go out and do it. My goal is to provide the help and the resources to the people that need it. If you want to be tested.
Hey guys, how's everybody? We are back again with another episode with my good friend Takeisha Nunez. This is episode 21 so far, and make sure you subscribe, share this page, and you don't have to miss more episodes of our podcast. But today we have a special guest. Takeisha, welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you.
And please introduce yourself. Who is Takeisha and what you do, so the new subscribers know who you are and they.
Awesome. Okay. My name's Takeisha Nunez. I work for the University of Kentucky Target 4 program, which is located here in Louisville on Dixie Highway. So I am right around the corner. I am a native of Louisville and Kentucky, so I know a lot of resources that are here. And we specialize in educating people on HIV prevention, Hep C, and then also ways to get checked for other STIs. We also work with people who are positive for HIV, whether they are newly positive or they've been positive for a while, they've fallen out of care, need resources. My team is able to kind of help and assist people to get the things that they need to be as healthy as possible.
Wow. And I want to introduce myself a little bit more. And, my name is Farhan Abdi. I work with the Somali community of Louisville and, African immigrants in Louisville, generally. And our goal is to make sure we share resources that are out there, whether it could be healthcare, education, workforce, or, career advancement. So this part is going to be, where the healthcare part comes in, and where Takeisha will help us on our program on STI prevention and, the resources out there. But this is for everybody who's watching this, and I believe you will get something out of this, so you can help yourself or your family member or your people in your community, so you can also share. But also, Takeisha, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to do this work. When we need things about STI prevention resources, I'm the one I call. And she's the one that really gives us most of the resources that we have in our community. Thank you for that. But tell us a little bit what inspired you to do this work.
I started this work in 2013 and never thought that I would be doing this work. But once I got into it and I saw the needs that were disproportionately affecting my community. So African Americans have the highest rates of HIV when you look at African American females. African American men who have sex with other men have higher rates than their counterparts. And with so many diseases, us as Black people are often disproportionately affected by those diseases. And so I'm a mother, I am a community member, I'm a friend, and I'm like, I cannot continue to allow these statistics to haunt my community. And so for me, it was about how can I educate the youth? How can I educate people my age and just around me, so that we can start to kind of turn these statistics around? And I believe a big part of that is through education, because we make decisions, and if we're not educated about those decisions, how can we reduce the harm when we're doing different things?
Yes, I agree with you 100%. Our communities are struggling with this type of diseases, but it's a matter of prevention and resources, as you say. Thank you for saying that, because you mentioned that there's an issue, and you have to educate our community, and this is the education is one part that I really support. So tell us, how does the education help on HIV and STI prevention? Like, how does that help?
Well, it helps a lot, because a lot of people think I can look at someone and know if they're okay, or they don't look like they have something. There's not a scent or an odor, there's not a drip or anything like that going on. But the majority of STIs are asymptomatic, meaning that there are no signs or symptoms. So you may be with someone and they may have an STI and don't even know that they have it. And so without protecting yourself by using contraceptives, by using testing, you can be infecting yourself and neither partner know or party know. Also in Kentucky, we have a high rate of concurrent diagnosis, meaning that when someone finds out they have HIV, within less than a year, they find out that they have an AIDS diagnosis. Because the signs and symptoms of HIV are very subtle. They're flu-like symptoms. We are living in the times of COVID, and even before then, weather in Kentucky, as you know, changes at the drop of a dime. So if you got flu-like symptoms and you weren't concerned about an HIV diagnosis, you may miss those subtle signs and symptoms. And so with understanding and being educated on, I need to be tested. I need to learn how to have conversations with my partners on have they ever been tested, and then encourage them to go with me before we engage in a sexual relationship to get tested together. And so that is what is going to prevent. And also, if we educate our children before they start having sex, then they won't make, hopefully, those bad decisions to not be protected, and it keeps them safer, or at least they know what the consequences are when they engage in different activities.
I agree with you 100%. Is all about education right here, because I remember when I was in third grade in Kenya, I was part of the peer pressure group, and our goal is to educate about the school students about HIV prevention. And during that time, I learned that it's all about prevention before it causes harm, because it causes destroy your life. It's just like, think about educating yourself young age, so that as you grow, you put that into perspective. And that's why education is important. My question is, are this prevention education work is taught in school, in public schools? Are they teaching this?
So no, not really. If there are classes, like Central has a nursing program, I think that they do some education. There are some schools that have some health programs, so they get a little bit more than other schools, but most schools aren't teaching this. And I think that it is a really bad misconception that if we talk to kids about sex, that they're going to go out and do it. I believe that if we educate them, then they will make better choices.
Correct.
And when we hide things, then they go to try to seek and find those things that we're hiding, that can cause them to make bad choices. So the better we can have open communication, we know that sex is something that is a normal part of life. And although I have two daughters, I have a 20-year-old and an almost 17-year-old, I don't want to ever think about them having sex. But I keep the lines of communication open so that when they're ready, that I can help to make sure that they make the best decisions, because ultimately I want them to be safe and healthy and not to get something that could have been prevented.
Absolutely. I agree with you. As a black folks, I myself, I've been African, we have misconception. What is the biggest misconception in America when it comes to STI and HIV?
Really kind of the ways that you can get it. Some of the misconceptions are, I remember a few years ago when I still worked at the health department, someone asked, well, if someone has HIV, how do I clean the house? And I said, the same way you clean the house for someone who does not have HIV. HIV is not something that can be gotten through casual contact. There are 5 body fluids that transmit HIV, and those are blood, breast milk, semen, vaginal fluid, anal mucosis. And even with breast milk, with the advancements, if someone is on medication, they're not going to spread it from mom to baby by breastfeeding. In the U.S., it is still in the process of getting approved, but in other countries, there are moms who are HIV positive, who are on medication, who are able to breastfeed. And even with someone having HIV and those body fluids can spread it, with taking medication correctly, and you can become undetectable. And if someone is undetectable, that means that they are pretty much unable to transmit the virus of HIV. So it's a campaign called U equals U. So you can have a partner that's positive and not get HIV.
Wow.
You can have children with that partner and those children not get HIV as well. But it's about being informed. So that's another piece, that if I know what my partner has, I know what steps that I can take to mitigate any harm to myself. So you can still have those healthy relationships and also not have to live in shame of, I have this disease now. If there are people who are listening that are positive, know that you can get medication, get help, and still have happy, healthy relationships and live just as long as someone who is HIV negative.
Wow. And that's thank you for that education part, because most people don't know all these things. And that's why, I bring you as a guest to educate people in our community about these things. And you can look it up yourself. Everything she says, she's fact checked. And I really love, Takeisha, how confident and passionate about this work, you are. And thank you for that. But another thing is misconceptions after we pass that is there's a barriers on cultural, like I'm from Africa, I'm a Muslim. I'm also Somalian. There's a lot of barriers. How do you come to, discuss when you have all these cultural things, layers?
Yes.
How do you discuss in sexual health?
So I try to meet people where they are, and also looking at what's similar. I am a Black woman who's a Christian who grew up Southern Baptist. So for people who don't know that are listening, it is sometimes Southern Baptists can be very extremely conservative, like no sex before marriage, even though people end up pregnant and having sex before marriage anyway. So I think there's a lot of things that are kind of, we try to keep it like, oh, you should not do this, so we don't have these conversations. And I think sometimes in other cultures and religion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's that same thing. We want our children to be pure. We want to have this until marriage.
Yes.
But we also have to understand that things happen and life happens. And so even though there are differences, there are still a lot of things that we have in common that between our different cultures.
Correct.
So I think that's usually where I start, is what do we have in common? And then also meeting people where they are. So what is it that you want to learn? While also giving the most information that I can that can help save a life. That is the biggest part of the job that I do. Is I'm not a nurse, so I always joke and say I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. But I'm saving lives. Because if you know you have HIV, if you know what's going on with your body and you're able to go get the help and the services that you need, you're going to live a long life.
Yes.
And so we have to understand that truly education and knowledge is the key to preserving our culture, to preserving our people and keeping our youth and even our adults safe.
Yes.
Because we see elderly people who are in menopause, so they're not worried about having kids. They may be divorced or widowed, and then they're at their second lease of life, and then they're having sex. They're at risk for HIV as well. So we all have some risk factors, and we have to be open to having those conversations and discussions.
Correct. And one factor that I always remind my team is, when it comes to the STI HIV education, is the population that has the most in Kentucky. What population is more positive? I remember you said the elder population. Is it in Black community?
So
what was that? Yeah.
So I don't have the statistics off my top of my
what are you
head.
thinking? Yeah.
But there are some. So when we are looking at new cases versus the amount of population, so Black people make up about 13% of the population. We have about 54% of the new cases of HIV. So that is where we're disproportionately affected.
Wow. Yes.
And so we have seen, and I have not seen Kentucky's about 2 years behind when it comes to statistics.
Okay.
But we do know that 55 and older, it's not a huge number, but the number steadily increases if people aren't being tested or if we're not having these conversations.
Okay.
But the highest number of new positives is going to come from our men who have sex with men. one out of every two black men who have sex with men have the probability of becoming HIV positive.
Okay.
Then we're going to look at our black women have, when we're looking at subgroups, and like the 18 to 35 range. And then, of course, we do have some with our 55 and older.
Yes.
Because, like I said, they're no longer worried about the same things that they were worried about years ago. Or they haven't had to worry about it because they've been married and now they're divorced.
Wow.
Or widowed.
That's great. And also, I want to ask you, what is a typical day of you being a STI, HIV, health, educator? What is your day to day? Just give a little bit of picture.
A picture of my day.
Yeah. I want to know that.
It is crazy. My team covers Jefferson County as well as the other 6 surrounding counties. So we are here, there, and everywhere. I spend a lot of time educating youth in different locations. I work a lot with the Goodwill, the SPOT program, with doing education with them. We are actively working with people who are HIV positive. We have been able this year to help 4 people who are HIV positive who were houseless to find semi-permanent housing, and 2 of those people have moved into apartments by working with other community partners. Nothing that we're doing on our own. We're helping those who are already positive and trying to link them to resources. We are out in the community doing HIV and Hep C testing. We're linking people to PrEP. So I didn't mention what that is, and when we're talking about prevention, PrEP has to be discussed.
Yes.
PrEP is a drug that you take once a day, or you can get an injection every other month that will prevent you from getting HIV despite whatever your behaviors are or your partner's behaviors are. Because sometimes people are in relationships and they know that their partner is in other relationships, whether it is them cheating or whether it is culturally and they have different relationships in other locations.
Correct.
So PrEP keeps them from getting HIV if that partner was to contract it from someone else. Or if their partner is already HIV positive, they take PrEP. That prevents them from getting HIV. And I know we talked about U equals U. So your partner's taking their medication, you're taking PrEP, you're double protected. I'm a believer in, if my partner was positive, I would take PrEP because I don't want to depend on anyone else to keep me healthy. So you can stay negative if they are taking their medication, but double protection, you take yours, they take theirs, and everybody is protected. So that is another big piece of what we're doing. So people who need PrEP referrals, we're getting people into care at the hospitals. So usually we refer to U of L, but we also have a really good working relationship with Family Health Centers, with Park Duval, with Norton's, to try to get people positioned in the best place possible that works for them.
That's great. And that's like it's a lot of information. And I hope you guys are taking notes for that. The other question was the youth. What is the most effective way to get the youth to get tested or learn about this? What are you thinking? What would be your best?
So I feel like educating them. A lot of times when we're talking about sex, when I educate adults, they get squeamish. And I'm like, okay, well, how many kids you say you have? And so, but I think because, especially in America, even though you have all of these shows that are sexually charged, different things like that, the conversations in the South, because it is more of a considered a quote unquote religious area, Bible Belt or whatever, you talking about sex as a person who has sex makes people feel somewhat uncomfortable. But we have to get comfortable.
Because it's real life,
It's real life. I always tell people, even when I go talking to church, sex is something that we've all come from and that most of us will all do before we die. So we have to be real and have those conversations. My children, I've been doing this since my oldest daughter was in 5th grade. My kids have helped me pack condoms. They have sat through probably more of my presentations than they would have liked to have sat through. But they're educated. They know that if I decide or when I'm ready, I know how to take care of myself. And just like we teach them math and we give them those same timetables over and over again so that they can learn it, this is education that we should be giving our children over and over again so that they can learn it, so that they can be protected.
That's something, we always need to take consider, and it's all about knowing, because most people, even I ask adults about this basic questions about STI, and they don't know about it, and they have kids. You are, as you said, but what will be the stigma, as you said, is because of maybe the background is one of the biggest stigma. And what are the partnerships you do to reach more people in the community to educate? How do you partner with that? Like, how do you go with that?
So when we're talking about the stigma piece, there is a lot of stigma when it comes to HIV because you can't get rid of it.
Yes.
But it can be treated and managed like we've discussed. Other STIs, I know people will say, well, this person was dirty and they gave me this, or, but people don't always know. And so understanding that if you have something, you may not even have known that you had it. So it's not about being ashamed of what has happened because it's over with. It's about going and getting the help that you need. So if it is gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, things like that, there's medications that you can take. If it is something that's more permanent, like HIV or herpes, there's medications that you can take to kind of keep things at bay. But it's just important to know what you have and know what's going on with your body, and being comfortable with discussing things, and also understanding that if you are HIV positive, you don't have to wear a sign that says I'm HIV positive. That is information that you can keep for yourself, and when you have a sexual partner that you need to have that conversation with, you have it with them. The partnerships that we have and that we work with all the time, because I can only do HIV testing and linkage to care. But as I've discussed, there are other STIs that you can have. You can go to places like the specialty clinic, which is ran by the health department, that's on Broadway, and they specialize in just STI care. You can go to Park Duval, which is a federally qualified health center. They also help with transportation in certain areas. So if transportation is an issue, you can set up transportation with the closest family health center. I think there are 7 in Louisville and some surrounding counties, so that you can get tested and treated from there. And they have a sliding scale fee, just like the specialty clinic. So everything can be affordable when it comes to taking care of your sexual health. As well as getting the medications. They have a pharmacy where you can get the medications at a cheaper rate. So we work with them, and Family Health Center in Portland. We've done some work with them to help people get tested and treated for different things.
Wow, and all these resources, some of them have subsidized fees, some of them, even if you don't have insurance, you can still go and work out. And one thing, I work with some youth, and I find out that some of them, they talk to me, because they trust me. They talk to me about having herpes, and one thing I learned, when people find out that they are positive of herpes, they're gonna live with this forever. What are the help they can get? Because I want to help this youth to understand that this is, it's just going to be with you, and you have to take care of it. Do they need to go counseling, or do they need to keep taking their medication? What are your advice on that one?
So my advice is always to pay attention to your body. If you're having an outbreak, you want to make sure that you are talking to your provider, that you are not engaging in any sexual contact. You can have a cold sore on your mouth, which is herpes simplex 1, which is not considered an STI. But if you perform oral sex on someone, and then it can become genital herpes if there's an outbreak. If it is genital herpes, following whatever the doctor said. If they gave you a medication that you need to take daily, take that medication daily, because you want to keep things at bay. Because with herpes, sometimes you can still spread it even if you don't have an outbreak. So you want to follow whatever your doctor has told you, and then protect yourself as much as possible. With herpes, it's a little bit harder to protect because it's skin-to-skin contact. But just making sure that you don't have any outbreaks. Herpes sores and lesions are going to be painful sores and lesions. So you're going to know if it's an outbreak because it's going to hurt. Sometimes if you have syphilis, syphilis is the great imitator because it can look like something else. Syphilis, it may look like a herpes sore lesion, but it's going to be a painless one. So you may, if you already have herpes or you already have something, you may get something else like syphilis and it may pop up as an outbreak. You may be like, oh, it's okay, it's just herpes or it's just this. Always get checked, always get retested if there are. Go re-talk to your doctor if you see another outbreak or if something is different. So just being really in touch with what's normal for your body is important, but finding someone like you who you can talk to, and also understanding that if you go to the doctor and they tell you that you have something, they don't go back and report that to your parents.
Right, they keep it.
So 13 and up, that is a private conversation. And that's important because I don't want you to be afraid to go seek help because they're afraid of what their parents may say or do. Go seek help, get the information that you need, find a trusted adult, and then if you need help talking to your parents, see if that adult will help you have those discussions with your parents, because regardless of if you feel like my parents are going to kill me because I did X, Y, and Z, your parents love you and they want the best for you. So it's good if you can have those open relationships. And parents, letting your kids know in life, you're going to make choices that I may not agree with, but I'm always going to be here to make sure that you can make the best choices possible in the future.
Correct.
So that they can feel comfortable talking with you when things do come up.
Wow. It's all about that communication line and have that trust. But also, I think a lot of youth that we serve is they don't want to talk to this with their parents because of, culturally,
absolutely,
barriers. So they need to talk to people who are well educated on this subject to guide them.
Absolutely.
And is there a way, if they don't even want to call me, can they give you a call? People who are listening.
Yeah, they can. Or I have an on-call number where either myself or one of my workers, they are there Monday through Friday, that people can call. They can ask questions. They can set up testing.
We're going to put the number down here. So.
And I will tell you my name. Like, again, my name is Takeisha. If for some reason you call that number and I'm not the person that answers, let them know you want to speak with me directly. And they will get me the message and I will give you a call.
And they can call this number Monday to Friday?
Yep.
Okay. You can call it between, business hours. And Takeisha or someone else will help you out. It's just a matter of phone call and you need a guidance. They'll guide you. Thank you for that, Takeisha. And one thing, I was telling some of the youth that I work with is at what age you need to start learning about this education class. What age do you recommend to start getting this education? Because for me, I started when I was in third grade, which is, I was younger, but I knew about this.
And I think it's important. I don't think that there is an age where you shouldn't. I think as we start off as parents, I started off with my daughters about good touch, bad touch, understand, because that is the foundation of sexual health.
Okay.
Understanding consent. Consent is a big piece that can get a lot of people in trouble with not understanding how important consent is. We don't want people to go to jail because of a misunderstanding or, something bad to happen to someone because they didn't know how to say no or they didn't know how to listen for the word no. Wow. And understand how important it is to back up because consent is super important. So I start at a very foundational age of understanding these basic things that we do every day. And then, like I said, my daughters, they've been learning about it since they were in elementary school, and not to a huge extent of this is what sex is. It was like, okay, you see condoms. Well, what are condoms? They're things that adults use to keep themselves safe. And so we're already introducing that this is something that is a safety mechanism. We have tons of those. We have medications that we take. We have seatbelts that we put on. All of these are ways to keep ourselves safe. So if we normalize it like we do anything else that we use in everyday life, then it just becomes a part of who they are and what they know about.
Wow. And mostly, you see, you're right. I agree with you. It's all about the mindset. But most people, when they find out they have HIV or herpes, usually, what is their reaction? What do they usually believe in is going to happen after that?
Well, with HIV, when a lot of people find out they have HIV, depending on how much education they have, some people have a lot of disbelief that this is going on with them. I used to do a job where I would go and talk to people who were HIV positive and then go find their partners and talk to their partners. And sometimes I would be talking to partners who I knew were HIV positive already.
Wow.
But we have to address everybody as if this is my first time really talking to this person. I couldn't tell that person, well, you named someone who was already HIV positive. But I can recall a couple of people that I talked to who just acted like they never knew. I'm like, I know someone's talked to you about this before. But for some people, it was just so hard to even understand that this is my reality now. And that's why it's important to get tested with your partners. But so there's some disbelief. There is some people who I feel healthy, which is the same thing that happens with a lot of diseases. Someone could say you have diabetes, well, I still feel fine. And then you're not taking your medication. So that can cause people not to take it. But so it's just really what I spend a lot of time doing is stressing the importance of you feel fine now, take your medication so that you stay feeling that way. This is what it is. It's not a death sentence. It's not something that you're going to easily pass to someone else that you're not having sex with. Let's talk about ways to keep you healthy and to keep your partner safe.
Wow. And that's really a big thing that our societies forget about.
Yeah.
We always think that you can mess around without people knowing it, but you can go without it and marry somebody's daughter without even getting tested. So I push on testing.
Yes.
So usually get tested at least twice a year if you're active.
I would say, if you're switching partners, or if you have a partner who has other partners, or you have other partners, you should be tested often if you're not protecting yourself, or if it's not a closed relationship where you know all the people in that situation are tested. I would suggest getting tested often. Everybody should be tested at least once in a lifetime that is sexually active. So if they've never been tested, get tested at least once in a lifetime. I always suggest when you're getting a new partner to test with that partner. Start that conversation
early as possible.
Yes, because you only get one body.
Yes, you only got one body to live.
Yep. So let's take care of it the best way that we can.
Correct.
And that number that I gave out earlier, that number is also a number where someone can call and request an HIV test.
Okay.
So
that's great.
Or if they're already positive and they're listening, they can call that number. And like I told you, what my team does, they will meet with them and help them to get into care if that's something that they need in a confidential way.
That's amazing. Thank you. And another thing is you mentioned about one time to me is there is a HIV like same day test. Talk about a little bit of there is that where you can test somebody.
Yes.
Go somewhere and get tested same day, and you know if you're positive or not.
So that is the test that we do. It is a finger stick test. The first test we do takes about a minute for the test to run. If that test comes back positive, we run a second test, which is called a confirmation test, and that lets us know if someone is positive, and then we can start that linkage to care process. With that test, it's about a 3-month window period, meaning that anything that happened in the last 3 months may not show up on that test. So we would, if there's some concern from a recent event, we would just schedule to retest them again.
Test them again. Okay, good. So you just always getting, but most people they're scared to get tested.
Yes.
And it's normal, huh?
It is normal, but I'm gonna tell you, I make it as simple as possible. I pride myself and my team in offering excellent customer service. I feel like that is the biggest part of what we do, because if people don't feel comfortable when they're in the room with us, they're not going to come back and get the help that they need. So If people are afraid and have some questions, call the number and ask about like how this process works. But it is just as simple as getting your blood sugar taken.
Just get tested, yeah. And what are the takeaway of what you do that you are giving to the youth? As you said, is education is important, testing is important.
Yeah.
You know, communication with your partner is important.
Absolutely.
We just trying to avoid that part. You know, I don't want to talk about it, but you can talk.
Absolutely. A lot of times people say, well, I don't want people to think that maybe I'm doing X, Y, and Z, or if I ask my partner this, then people are they're gonna assume that I'm thinking that they are.
Yes.
No, it's about protecting you. And I tell people all the time, if your partner does not want to protect you, if you're saying I need to know this information, or
Correct.
Let's get tested together so that I can stay healthy, then that's not the partner for you.
That's right.
A lot of people say, I'm just going to look at their my chart. Okay, well, you can do that, but your my chart, your last test is only as good as your when you last had a sexual partner.
Correct.
So they could have their my chart from 5 months ago and have had 10 partners since then. Those are not valid results. So let's get tested again.
Correct.
If you feel like you really just want to have sex, use condoms.
Correct.
Protect yourself. There are ways to use condoms and have a happy, healthy sex life while protecting yourself. And then get retested with that person. Okay. So I am a big pusher for, if you can talk about sex with your partner, or your partner can tell you they want to have sex with you, then you should be able to talk about, yes, I want to have sex with you as well, but I also want to get tested with you. And if that's a problem, not the person for you.
Not the person for you. I agree. Thank you for that. And I want to tell you a little bit about what I read on the news. Was Kenya has a lot of HIV positives. Mm-hmm. I grew up from, that's where I grew up. And I find out that the new administration, the new climate, they used to give a lot of funding to that program of medication, so they cut. What is your suggestion on that? Like, those people who are really depending on those medications are no longer gonna get that. So, any thoughts of that? Did you think about them, and what are you thinking?
So, I can't speak from the university standpoint.
Yeah,
this
but
is me speaking as
just you speaking opinion.
Yes.
Okay, not the university.
Put that disclaimer in there.
I agree. What do you think about those type of?
I mean, I think that it's a very scary time for a lot of people to be in a position where these are life-saving medications. Mm-hmm. I always tell people, if you are able to vote, this is the reason why we vote. This is the reason why we do the things that we need to do, not only for our health, but just for where we live and what's in our community. And there is power in your voice, and you lift that voice up, and you try to put the right people into place. A lot of times, especially Black people that I've talked to in the past, they feel like, well, my voice doesn't matter, so I don't vote. It does. And the more our communities make noise and let people know we are a force and we are here to keep you in office, which keeps them paid, then they will listen to us.
Wow.
We have 2 years to make that change, because we have the power to really change and shake up some stuff politically in the 2026 election. So less than a year. Thoughts and prayers mean nothing. They mean a lot. Like, I trust me, I love the Lord more than anybody, just like anybody else. But when you're just throwing thoughts and prayers out to people with no action, it's crap. And I think that's what's happening right now. I would say, if you have access to safer sex supplies to send to your people, try to get them some safer sex supplies. Educate. If you go home and visit, educate people on how to stay safe. It is nothing wrong with using condoms for sex. It is about keeping yourself healthy and people healthy. There's just really not a lot. really like the first time I never would have thought that this time would have come where HIV would have been on the chopping block when it comes to keeping people safe and healthy. I wish I had more, but talk to your people.
Correct.
Let them know. A lot of times in other countries, they're not getting the same education
They're getting resources, yeah,
that we're here. So take whatever you can learn, take it back. If you have supplies that you can take it back so that they can, be safe until hopefully a change comes and in another couple of years or hopefully before the end.
Wow, thank you for that. And so, this is really good, thoughtful, because we also not only worry about ourselves, we also have to worry about people who are in need, people who are suffering, and and that's why we human beings is to take care about each other, and that's what you're doing. Thank you for that. So, what is your last takeaway to your work, what you do, to our viewers? What will be the last takeaways?
So, last takeaway is there are tons of resources in the community. My goal is to provide the help and the resources to the people that need it. If you want to be tested and maybe you don't want to come to the community center and talk to Farhan because you want to keep things confidential, call,
yes.
We have people who are going to be there to help. If you want to be here and you feel like that this is a safe place for you and you'd rather be tested here, we'll set up something. We'll come here and test you. We will meet you where you are. If you're positive, we will meet you where you are and help you get the help that you need. And that's my goal.
That's good. Thank you so much, Takeisha. This is the second time being here. We learn a lot from you today. I'm also, every time I meet with you, I refresh my mind to learn, this thing, so I can give it to my community, so I can give it to people that I have access to, and people who are watching us online. And our audience is growing, and then we will have more information. But if you need more information about Takeisha, I will put the link, the website, her information. Please reach out to her. She's a resource to the community. If you need a language access, or if you want a question about interpretation, you can call her or you can call me. We'll help you find an interpreter between you and Takeisha. But I want to say thank you so much for coming. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.